Welcome to a how-to video from AnimalCare software.
So this topic had come up because a couple facilities that were some of the very first facilities to go through their USDA inspection after USDA added birds had some different issues with their inspectors and things like that, and some of the language. And of course, anybody that's gone through USDA inspection, every experience is going to be unique depending on your inspector, because inspectors, some follow things more, try like exactly verbatim letter of the law, without varying away from it at all. Some of them are doing some interpretation on their own. Some of them you get some things where you're trying to figure out where that came from exactly, because there's nothing in the guidelines that refer to what they're talking about, but you're in an uncomfortable position of trying to argue with them, right? So for anybody that's joining that has not joined frequently, just to give you a bit of my background, I did run a USDA licensed facility for 31 years. I had 0 non-compliances in 31 years, so I was very proud of that. But that was also, before some of these more recent changes came. I was still running a facility when they allowed, for instance, teachable moments. And I know that that's not something they're really doing anymore, at least not publicly, right? Your inspector may still work that and operate that way with you, where they'll have a conversation with you about something that maybe they wish to see different. Oh, hello, Ian. Yes, I think I can make Ian you a co-host as well. And so for anybody that's on here, Friendy is our lead architect. Ian is one of our developers. And so they attend some of these meetings too, so that they can hear firsthand from user experiences. So all this being said, as far as it comes to documentation, versus documents, this has to do with the way some of the USDA inspectors have interpreted things. There's some confusion whether things have to be written down and printed on paper. Let's just say, for the record, that if you're running a USDA licensed facility, that also means that you have contingency plans that you're required to have. And if you have contingency plans in place, right, as your requirement, one thing that is probably best practices that I would advise any facility is that you try as much as possible to have all of your SOPs, just the way you operate and what things people are required to do, available someplace that are printed out in a 3-ring binder that somebody can walk over, open up, and have access to. USDA is a big fan of SOPs and having things documented and how you operate. That is your documents. Now, that being said, for the convenience in the software, I also highly recommend linking to those documents one way or another. And I'm going to show you a couple different ways you can do that. So the first way that you can do that is anytime you're setting up, your account, I encourage everyone to set up and use templates. Even if you just create a single section template with a note. And so this is on the daily report this is the Asia section that I'm on in the demo site, if you want to visit that. And I've just gone down to the template section. And you can see I have a lot of templates set up here, a lot of different examples. And there's one that's just called Asia section duties. It's actually just assigned to the whole Asia section. And it's just a single template for capturing kind of some overall things that apply to the section, maybe not specifically individual animals or groups of animals, right? So spot cleaning, positive counts, bathrooms clean, inventory completed, whatever. And then you could have a note, and this could be one note type that would be maybe capture some of the things you want to capture in for section notes and guide people. This one I didn't really set up, and so let me go and just do a quick edit of this to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So by the way, all of this you can do on the demo site, and you can make changes, although if you make changes, you'll surprise me next time I go to do a demo and find things in there. So the link, by the way, so I'm on the Asia section duties, is when you click on the details, there's always the link to the template and who it's assigned to. So actually, I created a subsection for Asia called section daily duties. So I'm just going to go here and I'm going to edit it. Now, the first thing is this purpose will show up on the description when I'm looking at the template. So if I refresh this, you'll see test. That's just all I typed, right? And template details. So you can, in this template, go back here. You can write out the SOP for the entire section if you want, how everything's supposed to operate, and have it just written here. You can have attached photos, videos, which anything that you ever have issues with people doing the way you want it done, do a how-to video, and you can actually attach a video right here to this purpose, right? Because that shows up anytime someone clicks on the template details. Now, if it gets really long, they'll have to like click on it to expand it and see the whole thing. A shortcut, if you already have your SOPs as like a PDF or a link, right? So there's two options here. I can link to an outside document. Keep in mind, if it's an outside document like a Google Doc or anything like that, that when the person clicks on the link, they have to have permission to view it as well. So make sure that if that's what you're doing, that you give permission that anybody with the link can view the document. Keeping in mind that the link is only here, right? The other thing you can do is just attach the file. So, and I was looking at some of our logos earlier, so let me jump down here to my test attachments so I can grab one here. There we go. So I'm going to find my Asia elephant SOP. This is a fake document, by the way. It's just, if I open it up, it's just a test document. And I'll also go ahead and put a video in here just so you can see how that would work.
Hey, David, I can't see your screen. And so can you tell me again where you are? Because I think I have lost you.
Let's see. I am sharing my screen. Maybe I'm hidden behind another screen so you can find me, unless you only have one screen. But I am currently on the demo site on Daily Reports for Asia, and I'm in the edit mode for the Asia section duties right now. And I'm about to hit save. So if you happen to be on that page, you're going to see a refresh message come up. So now when I click on the details, there's the document, there's the PDF, which I can open. And depending on how you have it set up, it'll either download it like it did here, or it'll open it up in a new page, right? So that's just a browser setting. There's the test document, and the video's embedded. So it becomes a very useful tool. That is also your documents, your SOPs. As I said, best practices would say that you probably want to have something printed out, that if you had power failure or anything like that at your facility, that's kind of what they're looking for. when they're talking about contingency planning, have you thought through what do you do in different cases? Because to be honest with you, all the record keeping systems that are out there that are competitors that we go to the same registrar conferences and we have these discussions, they're all require you logging in online, even if it's like a your own servers and everything. If the power's out, then you're not going to have access to be able to log in and see like a template like this. So I definitely would consider in your contingency planning taking any of these templates and having just a printed version that could be filled out temporarily until power is restored or something like that. I don't know that you have to go as far as printing out daily reports. I do know that some facilities will run a report on their daily reports. And by the way, if you have a larger facility and you're wanting to do something like this for part of contingency planning, to have access, say, with the last week or couple weeks or something of information, you can run reports based on a date range if you just want to run them. And if you save these documents, as PDFs or like a Word document or anything like that, you can download documents, of course, to a handheld device that's available to view this stuff offline as well. So that's just a couple of thoughts for you. Now I want to go back and show you another thing that you might consider doing. And that is, I'm going to go back to the same Asia section duties. So here I have the document, right? And I mentioned that I could add a link here. I have the video. So one thing that a lot of facilities have not taken full advantage of is the resource management area here. So it's under administration, resource management. This is your own personal facility library, information storage, store photos and videos here, and you can also keep track of inventory items. Now, I will say that it's not a 100% complete inventory system. It's not tied to other parts of the software currently, and it does not do automatically deductions from like if you prescribe like amoxicillin to an animal, and when it's administered, it does not automatically deduct from your inventory. That's all a manual system. Those are enhancements that we're looking at in the future, connecting all of that, because this part of the software, this resource management, was built with 2 rounds of grant money it was the ZAP Fusion Center, the Zoo and Aquarium All Hazard Partnership, and that money came from through USDA and AZA, and so this was developed for a different focus on emergency response, but it also would help with your contingency planning, which goes to your documents versus documentation. So here you can see I have this Asia SOP right there for the entire section. And if I go here and click on View Details, I can have same thing. I can have the SOP completely written out in the notes section. Don't try and read that. It's basically ipsum lorem. It's fictional, kind of like made up language. There's also, you can attach an actual document, like a PDF here. And then what I can do is every resource that you add in here has a link of its own. So I can take that link right there and just copy it, go over here to my Asia section duties, and I'm just going to put click on the link button here, text to display, Asia SOP resource, paste in the URL. Hit save. Put it on its own line. I see that I had 2 caps. Let me go edit that. Lowercase e, there we go. Again, it's going to have me. Each time you update a template, by the way, it will have every user that's on that page refresh their page after you hit save, which is probably something that's important to point out for some of you, that if you're working on these, you might want to not do it when everyone's typically logged in at your facility trying to fill out this information, because of course then you're competing with them. So there is that Asia SOP resource. And so now it's right in the software. My phone, I can click it, open it, and there it is. So think of this for not just SOPs, but contingency plans, emergency call lists, things like that. So if I have a fire, or like a hurricane that's hitting Florida currently, and I'm trying to make sure that everybody knows what they're supposed to do if they're in a ride-out team, or if I put out a call to everybody, right, that we have a potential evacuation scenario because of a wildfire, you can have these documents available for everybody to refer to. And it's something that USDA is always looking for, a facility's level of detailed planning. And the more things that you can put in the software, or just for your own purposes for your facility that you can share with USDA, the more they're going to see that you've got things handled. Because where typically they get concerned with facilities is if you're in an area like I'm here in Texas, for instance, and they were to ask me, well, what am I going to do if there's a tornado warning, right? If I haven't at least thought about that and considered that and have an answer, that's really bad. But equally as bad, as far as USDA would be concerned, is I don't have a written plan for what I'm supposed to do, or what my staff's supposed to do if there's a tornado warning. Now, anybody that's ever been around a tornado knows that you don't know where it's going to hit. So evacuating typically is not even an option by the time you actually find out that you're in the path of a tornado. But there are things that you can do to secure certain animals in holding areas if they're out on exhibit, or to crate animals and put them in a more solid building, depending on the amount of warning you have, of course. But they want to see what is your plan, right? And the more detail you can put in it, the better. So I feel like I've done a lot of continuous nonstop talking for the first 20 minutes here. So it'd probably be very good for me to pause and just open it up to anybody that has questions, comments, wants to see some examples of some things, or if you just joined for any other reason to ask questions about the software. So, and you could just unmute yourself, by the way.
I have a non-USDA related if so in the template view, it's not possible right now for my team to see the actual section name of the animal, because we've divided it up. The names are kind of long once you get to the actual animal exhibit. So like 1, 2, 3, 4. So ours have like 5 sections. I'm wondering if there's a way to change the views so we could see like the last name in the section.
Gotcha.
Versus the first couple.
Let me answer this, Steve.
Go ahead, Friendy.
All right. So thanks for the feedback. Is that Katie, the one who asking question?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So thanks for the feedback. We actually fix that problems so that you'll be able to see the section much easier.
Okay.
And you should expect the changes will be deployed. Hopefully, if the team is ready, hopefully by this week. you should be able to see it much better after this upcoming release.
Okay, thank you. That's great.
Yeah, and that answers my question, because then it makes it a whole lot easier, Friendly, because Katie, what I have suggested to facilities that have really long names is find ways to shorten the names, use like shorthand letters, and instead of like the entire name of the facility, like that, ACZA, and that all helps so that you can see more of it. But yeah, that is something that they are working on, and so hopefully will be deployed by the end of this week or the beginning of next week, and so that'll solve that issue. Yes, because that has been an issue when you're looking at a template that's assigned to a section. Now, if it's assigned to an animal, you don't have that issue because then you'll see the animal's name. But it is when it is assigned to a section. So like aquariums that have, very long things. They have LSS01 and all the way down to, like a tank that's in like a room. So.
Right, exactly.
And you said you had a couple of questions. Do you have another question?
No, I think that's for right now. Yeah, I think that's it for right now. I'm sure there's a.
Perfect. Anybody else that's joined? And if you don't maybe have questions, since I have so many people on here, anybody that's been using the software for a little while, what's your number one wish list item? Since we have both Ian and Friendly on here, that if I could wave a magic wand and make more Ians and Friendlies, then we could get done sooner rather than later, what would that wish list item be?
I think you guys are already working. Nutrition would be the one for me, the diet section.
Anybody else? Yes, I've been taking a lot of feedback from facilities on how they're currently capturing like diets, diet sheets, diet cards, recording nutrition, and obviously there's two sides to that. There's the capturing and displaying what the diet is, and then there's also like at what level of detail is someone entering the data every day as far as like what the animal is fed. Some facilities want to enter in specific numbers for every single food item. That's a very high level of detail. Some people are just capturing like percentage of diet left, because the diet's animal is kind of known. It's on their diet sheet, diet card, and so we hope to maybe roll this out in two different things. One is something that will be an overall kind of like simple, straightforward solution that will address the minimum needs for all facilities. And then eventually what we're going to do is have a full nutrition diet module that will be much more higher level as far as being able to capture, all the past diets, maybe even be able to schedule future diets, having all that detailed information in there on each food amount the animal has. And by the way, since we're talking about nutrition, I can show you, and this sample animal that I use is Chook with two H's there, CHHOUK. And
hey, Dave.
yes,
I'm going to add one thing. And Dave did send out an email, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago asking for anyone's input on our diet and nutrition modules. And so everyone who's on here, any information you can provide about how you capture that data, the more information we have from you, our users, the better off we are in the long run. So really anything you guys think could help us out just to understand how your facility works, it helps us out immensely looking towards the future. So any information you can provide us, we would love to have. So yeah, we appreciate it.
absolutely. So let me show you something that I worked on here recently when this came up. Is one thing is having measurements that are just kind of dedicated for a single purpose. And this measurement here, as you can see, is right at the top. It's DC, short for diet cards, and then apples, and then I just put the word diet cards afterwards. I wanted to be as detailed when I created this measurement type as possible. And for every single one of these, right, I used the same kind of like nomenclature. I use DC, so I always knew that it's really the diet card. But the other reason I did this is when you're looking at your measurements, you can sort your measurements alphabetically or by type, right? So I can sort these all alphabetically. By doing this, I put all of those measurements that relate to the animal's diet card together. Once I created the measurement type, I actually created, I think here, template for entering in diets. Let's see here if I got. Maybe I did not. That's diet card info snakes, not quite the same thing. So I'll do it now. Diet card creation template. So apples. Now, I'm going to point out a couple things as I'm walking through this. So this is the first food item that I may or may not be giving to an animal. I'm going to try and put in many different things to show you how you can capture that. So apples, it says other, but when I click on it, it says other or mass. So in other words, I could create this so that when I'm capturing the information, my facility, maybe I have, let's say, gorillas. And I don't weigh out the apples for whatever reason. My staff's too busy. And so I just give them, a number of apples. So then I can name my unit apples. So that way, when they're entering the information, they'll say, give them 5 apples, 10 apples, 6 apples, etc. Right? Of course, that's not probably best practice. Best practice would be to give it by the mass. Say, how much do you want to give them? And so I can put in by weight. And then I'm going to do the same thing with carrots. And we'll do hay. And that I'm going to use other, and I'm going to call this flakes as an example. And so I think the only other one I had in here was the kilocalories, right? The other thing that you could create is, I'll add one here. Add measurement, DC, kilocalories. Let's see here. Where is it? Energy. There it is. Oh, did I choose the wrong one? I think I chose the wrong one. Which one is it, Ian?
For measuring the calories.
Yeah.
Let me pull that.
I know it's one of these here. Brendan, maybe you remember. One of these captures the
Yeah, there it is.
Energy should be for calorie.
Oh, there it is. Metric. Okay. So I did have it right. Calories. There we go. That's what I was looking for. I just didn't see it down there. And so I could create basically a measurement template that has all of the potential food items that I have, right? And you can be really detailed. So it's like probably the only one I still remember. Hold on here. There we go. And we'll say other and mass, both options. Of course, if this is for an elephant, right, these would probably be typically grams. And by the way, one of the things you can do when you're doing that is, say, create two different templates, one that's created in grams. Obviously, if you have any large animals, rhinos, elephants, giraffe, then a lot of stuff's going to be weighed out in kilograms as opposed to grams. And so that way, when I go and enter in here, I can also add in some notes, or in this case, I could just change the units, right? So if I update the elephant, let's see here. It's a lot of apples, but I can, you know, I'm just going to do the one for now. And you can see now it's updated that top one. The old one's still there, right? I was giving 2 kilograms before that 1 kilogram, now 6 kilograms cut in half. So it's basically detailed information on what the animal's getting as far as measurements go. And by creating all of these, you could also create a template for entering that in on animals and like updating it when there's changes made. So there's a lot of different ways I could go with what you can do with this. It's something that, like I said, I've been thinking about, that some form of this is something that we're going to want to have for a nutrition module anyways, because you're going to want to capture what that is. Obviously, having the kilocalories figured out is a manual process still at this point. You know, things like Missouri, Monkey Chow, you know, their nutritional information, they do regular testing, and things like the Monkey Chow, it doesn't vary very much. But of course, if anybody's on here from an aquarium, you don't have the same luxury with fish, unfortunately. Fish, the kilocalories can change quite widely, as can like the fat content and all sorts of stuff. And so, you know, we know that there's some level of complexity then that also is going to relate to having lot numbers, or if you have testing done or something like that. So I will pause again and see if anybody has any questions that I've kind of prompted in your brain. And again, just feel free to unmute yourself.
I don't really have any questions. So far, I appreciate the time you took this morning to kind of run through some of these. We haven't necessarily implemented a whole lot of templates. So it's always interesting to see them being used and, you know, some of the changes that you guys have made. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, and you might be surprised that once you start to understand some of the ways that you can use templates for just capturing the information, the next level then is like, how could I take and have the software do some additional work for me? We may have someone on here that asked about, you know, kind of like figuring out certain levels for aquariums, right? Where there's the mathematical equation is complex because it involves something to the power of 9, I believe. And there is a way to write that as a mathematical equation, but it's not ideal because you have to have a whole lot of parentheses and keep telling it to multiply by the same numbers. So that is an enhancement that we're looking at on how you can write a mathematical equation and insert something to do a x, right, a value to the 9th power or something like that. That being said, let me show you an example of a very simple one I created, which is also on the Asia section here, called this Asia dosage calculator. So we have some facilities that, you know, have like pound scales, right? And I don't think I should add something to this one because it's not displaying it currently. But I did show someone do this. You can have the software. If you go ahead and weigh an animal, pardon me. I don't know if anybody on here knows the rough answer to this. Maybe Paige does. I misspelled this. A roughly the male's elephant weight in pounds. I know it in kilograms pretty well now. I just don't know what the pounds typically is for an elephant. There you go.
12,000-ish, maybe?
Yeah, right on.
12,000-ish.
Yeah, Beth, better than Google. You're faster. So that way I can enter in, right? And basically, you'll see a value pop up down here, right? So what this did, if I jump over to the template details, is it's only capturing one value, the weight on the scale. This is the calculation, right? And so what it did is it first is converting the animal's weight to kilograms, right? And then, although it says pounds, right? That should be pounds. There we go. So that math might not be right. I'm glad I caught that. I hadn't looked at this for a little while. So I'm capturing the animal's weight in pounds and then doing the math, right, into kilograms to figure out the dosage that I'm supposed to give for an animal. There we go. So, and you can create calculations like that. And I would say that if you're trying to come up with a, and I don't know if anybody noticed that. It already converted, it changed the calculation. So you can set up the software to do things like that, or just convert pounds into kilograms. That way, if you're entering in a weight and the veterinarian's there and they need to dose the animal, since usually they're going to need to have the animal's weight in kilograms or grams anyways to figure out dosage, you can set it up so the software will do it for you. You can do this with any calculation that you typically have to run, right? As long as you put in all the values. So if I needed more than one value here, if I needed to use like a combination of the animal's weight and age, for instance, right? Basically you can set this up and it'll run the calculation for you. And I find that very useful for some facilities. So any questions?
I have another template question.
Absolutely.
So when you're doing the template, like I have a section that's for like agonistic behaviors, and you can put the notes and instructions in when you're making the template. And then the notes and instructions come up on the little info dot right next, when you're doing when you're putting in your information. But do you just have to use that as a guide, or can you actually fill it in on that?
This is just a guide, right?
Okay.
So the information button is just a guide. What you do have, though, here, let me pick a different one. So for all these, right? So this one, right, has all sorts of information. And then this is a unique measurement I started setting up because I wanted to be able to have like information for an animal displayed. Is I created a measurement type that says basically, select value if you have a question, or number 2, nothing to ask, right? Mainly I did it for this one. So it gets that little prompt. And then after they select the value, they click on the 3 dots. That's where you can add the note to the measurement right there.
Right. Okay. So then, yeah, you just have to kind of use the info thing as a guide. You can put it up on a separate screen or whatever if you have to remember what you're supposed to put in. Like I want the team to be able, I put prompts in there, like how long did the agonistic incident last? Was there wounding, et cetera, et cetera. And like if I want them specifically to put in each of those parameters for each time there's an agonistic behavioral occurrence.
Gotcha. So basically, you're wanting a bit more of a prompt, right? Than after they select a value, you're wanting them to add additional information, correct?
Yeah, like if they selected the agonistic encounter, then when they go to put in the notes, like I was like, oh, maybe it'll show up as like a template on there, but it does not, right?
No, not currently. Now, that being
Okay.
said, there is a thought that I have where, so I'm going to take this enrichment duration of engagement, right? As for example, I'm going to go to the template details, go to the template. And so it's not ideal. There's two ways you could do this. The first way is you could create a note section for that, or create a template that's more specific for what you're capturing, right? So sometimes if you're doing like certain observations on behavior, it might be worth setting up like a template like this one, elephant 10-minute observation or something like that, where you can set up a template for that purpose. And then when you set up where when they add the note, it's pre-populated with the things that you want them to enter in to capture for that. And so that's something to think about. The other way that my brain goes to anyway is that until because when we created the welfare templates, right, we kind of had the ability to add notes from the beginning to a measurement, and also be able to set up like these pre-populated templates, right? That's what I'm on the template now. And so when someone goes to open this animal note, it's pre-populated with the things I want them to enter in specifically. But we didn't think about creating like this pre-populated template note for a measurement. So when someone clicks on a measurement to add a note, they have kind of the same thing. And so for Ian and Friendy, it sounds like that is something that would be ideal. I don't know if that would be easier to look at for refactoring to do that, or to be able to create an area where instead of just measurements, where you could just literally write a freehand note other than down in the notes, because that is something that we've been looking at too. Is a request that we get often is there a way, well, let me jump back down to the templates, to kind of mix this up, right? So I have a measurement, then I would have a note, right? That would be like from the notes down below, where they click on it and open up a note to enter details notes. In a way, and you can tell me if you think I'm wrong on my thinking, in a way, I wonder if the best solution isn't really being able to create a note template when they click to enter a note here, that they have a note template that tells them what you want them to write in the note.
Yeah, that's the way my mind works, that would be an easy thing, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's very helpful, and it's something that we've been discussing and thinking about. One of the challenges when we're working on enhancement requests is, how was something created to begin with, and then what does it look like to make changes to it? How is it going to affect everything else in the software? And there's higher and lower levels of complexity when it comes to that. Because another one that we often get is people would really like to be able to add notes to a task, or to be able to skip a task. Two things that we didn't originally put in, whereas we have both of those features now in the medical reminders, although we don't currently have them. Ian and Friendy, this is a note for you. We don't currently have that skip function here, which is something I think I've already put in to have a skip. But you can leave it that you haven't done it, but because people skip treatments for various reasons. The animal wasn't feeling that well that day, and so they normally have to have the medication and food. And if they're not eating, then it's going to be difficult to get them to take a medication that you normally put in their food item. So yeah, and definitely that kind of feedback is what we're looking for. Like, how do you visualize it working best and simplest? Because we don't want it to be complex for the end user. We know that administrators, as you all know, there is some level of complexity to setting up the software and getting it to capture the information how you want to. Once it is set up, what we hope, though, is that the users don't have a hard time learning how to use it. That it literally is that they're just clicking on things and everything's right there for them, right? They can just click off and do the things that they're doing. Here's daily care and welfare that has SOPs attached to it, for example. There's another place you can attach SOPs. Same thing with the templates, right? It just becomes a form that they fill out so they don't have to remember everything that they're supposed to do. Thank you. That was very helpful. All right. I know that we had a couple people join late, but any questions from anybody at all that's on here, including those that joined a little late if you missed the very beginning of the kind of presentation for this morning? I don't know how many of you are going to be attending any of the zoo conferences coming up this year. I was at a couple sanctuary conferences this last year as well. I don't think there's any sanctuary conferences that I'm scheduled to go to this fall currently. But Ian will be at a couple of conferences, including the Registrar's Conference. I will be at AZA and ZAA conferences, and we'll have actually several people at our ZAA conference. We have some of our additional developers that will be attending that, and Ian will be joining me in Calgary, Canada, for the AZA conference. So, if I don't talk to you all via this Monday morning meetings between now and then, looking forward to seeing friends and colleagues from the past years at those conferences, visiting other facilities, of course. So I'm going to put one last chat in here just to make sure that for everybody that joined, that you have this information. I think most of you do, but in case you don't, you have it. So in the chat, I put my email address, and that is my cell phone number. Obviously, if you're overseas, that you probably don't want to call me on my cell, but you can also reach me via WhatsApp at that number as well.
For assistance, contact me, Dave, at dave@animalcaresoftware.com. And click here to subscribe to more Animal Care Software how-to videos.